Happy Sunday, everybody, and welcome back to Two Peas in the Podcast.
I'm Bree.
And I'm V.
And this is Ellen.
This is Ellen.
Good to be here, guys.
Thanks for coming. So we have our special guest on today. Her name is Ellen. She's a good friend and a coworker of ours at North and Navy. And she's just going to tell us about her experience and stuff like that.
But before, how was your week?
Yeah, how was your week?
What you been up to?
It was a good week. I got to go to a really cool wine tasting this week, actually. So I was kind of excited that it happened right before I got to come onto the podcast. I got to meet some really cool women in wine. It wasn't a women in wine event, but one of the people there was a woman that I look up to, badass organic wines in Italy since the 80s. Her story was really cool, and I got to just sit and talk to her for like an hour. So that was pretty much my week. That was the highlight. Everything else was just work and dog walks.
Yeah.
How about you guys?
Yeah, I've been here.
Yeah, we've been working. I got my hair cut. I cut all of it off. So
It looks great. I love it. Love the shag.
thanks. Yeah, it's a little mullety, but you know,
If it's your vibe.
party in the front
Yeah.
as well. In the back. All right. So obviously, as we stated last time, this is a podcast for women in the industry, by women in the industry. So I'd want to talk to us a little bit about your experience getting into the industry, and we can just go from there.
Sweet. I started working in restaurants, I think when I was like 18. I moved to Ottawa to start school, and I was going into my first apartment, and I was paying for school, and honestly, I was just absolutely broke. And I was like, I need cash tomorrow because I haven't eaten today and I want to eat tomorrow. And so I was like, well, if I get a job serving, then I can walk home with my tips.
Yeah.
And so that's when I just got a job serving. I went to the closest diner to my house. I asked if I could start. And I just sort of got into restaurants that way. I always just saw it as something that I could do to pay my way through schooling. And then in the summers, like Ottawa just has such a good patio scene. And so in the summers, there's so many patios to work on. There was always a job to be had. And just slowly, I just fell in love with working in restaurants. Shortly after I started at a diner, that I moved to like another just sort of more like chain, like bigger box restaurant in Lansdowne. And then I started kind of making friends in the industry, friends with women who had been working restaurants and kind of did it professionally. And that's when I first had a moment where I was like, oh, people do this like professionally, like people do this as a career. At that point, I was still just using it to pay my way through school. And then they took me out for dinner, and it was the first time I tried wine, oysters, and charcuterie. And it was like a high that I feel like I've literally been chasing ever since. It was like, we had this amazing food and the chef brought it out to us, and the server that was serving us knew a lot about wine. So they talked to us about wine. They talked to us about pairing. And I just ate this great meal. And I was like, I want to give this to other people. And I can't cook at all. So I was never breakfast. Like, thank you.
Yeah, I know it's a great breakfast.
I love to make a breakfast. So I was never really on the kitchen side of things, but I just loved the way that if you go out and you could get the perfect service where somebody's like, I am here to make you feel like you're in my home. I know how to make sure that I can curate the experience for you. I can help you find what you're looking for, and I can pair the right drinks with it, and I can just give you this magical experience. That was magic for me. So I wanted to chase continuing to have that experience, and I wanted to chase giving that experience to people. When you have somebody come in and maybe they're like a little bit nervous because they don't know the menu, they don't know the food, but everybody knows what they like. Like everybody knows what they like. So when you're able to sort of curate that level of magic for somebody, that's just like my favorite. So I worked my way through school. I studied international law. I loved my degree. And when I was graduating, I got offered a full-time position here at North and Navy. And at that point, it was sort of the last year of my degree. I knew that I wanted to finish my degree, but I knew that I wanted to stay in restaurants because I just like the satisfaction of a good service was kind of satisfied everything for me. And I just wanted to keep pursuing that. So I started at North and Navy, and I've been here since.
And you've been so lucky.
Yeah, I've been so lucky to be here. It's been great. And it was really cool coming to North and Navy because ever since I started, I think that has been for a while. It was like there was a lot of women in the restaurant. So it just felt like immediately in the front of house side, I was always working for managers that were women, which was a new experience for me, and I loved it. So yeah,
Very welcoming.
and here we are.
Yeah.
Great.
You made a very good point. I don't think that a lot of people like realize how good the industry can be until you get in it and then you go eat somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like how well people take care of like industry people.
Yeah.
When you go into another restaurant, like it's an amazing experience. Like we do it here too, where we're like, oh, this person is from another restaurant, and then it's like, okay, well, we'll send them something.
Yeah.
The chefs usually go to the table. Like it's such an amazing experience. And I feel like when people do that, like when they first enter the industry, they're like iffy about it, and they do that, it's like you said, like a high that is like so like gifting, or what's the word that I'm looking for, like so like fulfilling.
Yes.
That a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah.
Like
Because I feel like what we do is we want to make sure that people feel like taken care of in this really special and magical way. And we put a lot of energy into doing that night after night, like 4 nights a week, 5 nights a week, sometimes 6 nights a week. And so when you take your hard-earned money and you go somewhere else and somebody can give you that experience of saying, you've been taking care of people for 5 days. I see the emotional energy you've been putting into it, and I'm going to take care of you and make you feel special. That's just like, it means so much. And then you're revitalized. You're like, I want to go and now give this back to somebody else.
That's a great part of the industry. It's like taking care of your people in a way.
Yeah.
And it's really nice.
Yeah. It's a special place for it.
yeah.
Especially doing it through like food and wine, which I think speaks to those of us that are passionate about it. Like if you're passionate about food and wine, you're passionate about it.
That's like a love language.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely my love language.
I also feel like it hits like so many people in like such a spot that they don't like see. Like when you go to a restaurant, you eat a good plate of food. Like a big reason why I went into the industry was like, I want people to like sit down, and if they have a miserable fucking day, you're sitting down, you're eating a good plate of food, and it makes you feel like you're at home and you're like comfortable, and it's that comfort that like people strive for. Yeah. And I actually make a really good point that that's like something that is so like fulfilling.
Yeah.
And like gifting. And it's just nice to be like I had a moment the other day at the pass where people were sitting at the chef's pass and they were eating something, and it just, they were talking so much, and they sat down, they ate their pasta, and it just went quiet.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's like, thank you for that. Like, that's so nice to see.
Yeah.
And like, I hear you talk like to tables about wine and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's so cool, because like I could never, I don't shit about wine. I
know shit about cooking. So every time I say you guys are cooking, I'm literally like, wow. Wow. I like go to my tables. I'm like, do you see them? Like they made that.
That's us on the line, like detail and talk about that. Yeah. Like, what is that?
You'll like notice if you go to the chef's pass and you're like giving a table a bottle of wine, and you're giving them the rundown, we're very quiet. We're listening to what you're talking about, because you're like, what is she talking about?
Yeah. Okay, so we're a good team.
Yeah, very good dynamics.
But yeah, it's definitely one of, there's a lot of tables. I just love talking about the food with our tables, because I see you guys pulling those like 12-hour days, like all of the care that you put in, and every plate that you put up on the pass that I bring to a table. I know how much like blood, sweat, and tears have gone into that, or just like, you know, how hard you work for that.
So much love.
And so so much love in it. So like my favorite thing is when a table is as excited about that as I am. So then we kind of get to talk about it, and they're just like, oh wow, like, you know, like thanks for, you know, telling us everything about it. And I'm just like, this is the way that I can highlight how much work they're doing. And then pairing a good wine with it is then highlighting what the winemaker's doing. And it like always, they bring each other out.
Yeah.
And that's just like the experience that you mentioned before that you like try to bring.
Yeah. I think the first time I had that experience was at Citizen on Elgin. And it was Alana. Alana just left, but she ran the wine program there for years. And it was shortly after I had figured out that I loved going out to eat. So I'd like save up all my tips, and I'd be like, I'm going out to eat. And I would go and I would just ask Alana about a wine on the menu. I would tell her what I was eating, and I'd ask her about wine. I'd ask her about like 3 or 4 different wines, and she would just be able to tell me about them, tell me everything about them and why it might pair, why it may not pair. And I was like, that's a superpower. Like, I was so impressed, and I was like, I'm gonna be like her.
Well, speaking of that, we do have some wine. So if we want to like get into some of that, then you can tell us your opinions and maybe
absolutely
teach us some things. And
This is actually a good part. Earlier this week, a coworker of ours had listened to the podcast to leave, and she was like, it makes me want to like open some wine and have a charcuterie board while I listen. So this is your time, guys. Get your glasses out, get your fancy cookies.
Yeah, get your girl dinners going.
Yeah, girl dinner. Yeah, it's time.
Okay, well, I have one. If you don't mind me stealing your thunder and starting.
Yes, please.
I brought a wine that I'm really excited about because the winemaker kind of reminds me of you guys. She's from Sicily.
I love them.
She's from Sicily. Her name is Arianna Oshipinti, and she's really taking the natural winemaking scene by storm. She makes wine in Sicily, sort of in like the southeastern, I'm bad at directions, but like southeastern corner of Sicily in Vittoria. And she makes all natural wines, and her intent is to just express the love that she has of her land. She talks often about like the mountains and the mountain air and just the love that she has for her terroir. And so with her wines, she doesn't use any additives, like any chemicals. She doesn't fine or filter. She uses indigenous yeast for making it. So everything that you're tasting is like you're tasting the ground, the grapes of her soil. This is her Frappato, and Frappato is a native Sicilian grape. It's kind of like lesser well known. And she calls this wine the achievement of her childhood dream to showcase her land, a wine that is rebellious and bloody and powerful. And she quoted that was her girly dream as a child to make a wine like this.
Wow, sounds badass.
I was just like, she's so badass. So I thought that you guys might like it.
Yeah, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
This is when Veronica goes into her mode of being like, I know about wine. Very light. Very light and fruity.
Okay, cheers to you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, it's very nice. Oh, it's really good.
It's like light and dark.
Yeah,
at the same time.
Yeah.
Like it feels lightweight on your palate, but then it's kind of like dark.
Yeah.
Moody.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, it's really nice, actually. I was going to say, I don't know, like I said, nothing about wine, but I feel like it has those like good, I think it's the tannins or whatever, that like dry out your mouth.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like that's always something that I like in a wine when I'm drinking the red is like, I want it to be like the harshest thing that I'm drinking.
I noticed that so quickly after you started here, because we do like little staff drinks after service. So the kitchen always gets like 1 or 2 drinks depending on how many guests we did. And Veronica would always be like, I want a red wine, but like you always wanted like the bullet, like punch me in the face.
Yeah.
Like I don't want a light bodied red.
No, I want it to taste like I licked the inside of an oak barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Bree, you're always like, you like a little bit of like a lighter and like a fruitier thing. Yeah. Every time you come to ask me for wine, you're like, oh, like I'll take this one. I'm like, have you tried this one? Like, you would really like it.
And I always do.
The brightest and like the like fruit forward, which is like I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
Like
I feel like this has a good balance of that.
It does. Yeah.
This is like I hadn't tried this one before today, so I was like, it'll probably be good though. I love Ariana. I really love
New experiences.
But this is like I would say sort of my ideal.
Yeah, this is really good. Okay, well, do you want to talk about like obviously right now in the kitchen that you work with it is a majority women.
Yes.
And obviously, like you said, you haven't been in the food side of things, but do you want to talk about like your experiences with female cooks and stuff like that, and how they? You don't have to obviously talk shit. Hot take for a minute. You can like talk about how they compare maybe to like when you work in a very male restaurant, like how that happens.
I feel like when I was coming to restaurants, it was mostly men in kitchens. The first diner that I worked at was run by Jolene. She was a really badass Indigenous woman. She ran that kitchen. She had 2 male employees under her. So my first exposure was to seeing like really badass women in kitchens. She was amazing. And she really helped me grow like as server and as front of house because she just had the finger on the pulse of everything. Yeah. And then when I left the diner, everywhere else I worked was very much like a male dominated kitchen and very like classic kitchen culture, you know, like you see in like restaurant industry, all the meme accounts of, you know, like the line cooks and the guides. Being a female server, you could just kind of like walk up and be like, I made a mistake. And you're like, oh, maybe it's okay. I'll fix it now. Like it's definitely, all the kitchens I worked in were definitely male dominated in the kitchen. They also weren't the caliber of North and Navy at all. When I came to North and Navy, it was like a pretty balanced kitchen, and now it like really leans toward like predominantly female staff. And I don't know, I love it. I feel like the nights that are girls' nights are always just like such a vibe.
Yeah,
it's
just good energy. Everything
good
runs
energy.
smoothly. Everyone's just happy to be there. And
it's a lot more smooth. I feel like communication just works a lot better.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes with like trying to communicate things to the kitchen, because already I think that sometimes restaurants can really struggle with communication between front of house and back of house, because we're just like, oftentimes there aren't a whole lot of overlap with people working front and back of house. And oftentimes, because there's not overlap with people that have worked both positions, I've experienced there can be a real lack of understanding for like what you're asking from each other.
Yeah.
And that's where communication can really fall apart. And that's where you can kind of like see a big divide in restaurants, where it's like you have the front of house and you have the back of house, and they don't really mix. And they're oftentimes kind of frustrated with each other. But I feel like here communication is a lot easier because there's just like this desire to understand each other. And like, it feels easy to talk to you guys. And I hope it feels, like easy to talk to us on the front of house side, but I feel like there's just like, I don't know, it's just like a bunch of girls listening to each other.
I have so much respect for everyone's job that they're doing. So like, there's no, well, I'm doing this, so therefore I'm better than you. Like, there's none of that.
And I'm not saying that, like, I'm sure that there are like, men that do that too, but there's just something, it feels like, where it's just like all the girls together. It feels a lot easier to just have this sense of like communication and respect. I think that our communication styles are really good. And I think that's because you often find that women are really good at communicating, because we have to be, because like from a young age, like women are kind of pushed to be more empathetic and more communicative. And so that I think plays out really well for us just having a really cohesive workplace together.
I agree. And I think because of that, it makes it also a very comfortable space, not just for women, but like, I feel like the men that we work with really respect that, and like it meshes really well. And like they are in with the girlies there.
Yeah. Like it almost opens up their form of communication.
Yeah.
Because they're not afraid to like enter into that. Like, I'm going to see more feminine side of themselves.
Yeah.
They're like I find it challenging sometimes because men can be very, not all men, but some men can be very egotistical.
Not all men.
No.
Yeah.
Some men can be very egotistical, and sometimes their ego gets in their way of their communication skills. And so I think it's easier when you are coming up to a woman and you're like, oh, thank you. And you're like, hey, I messed this up. And there's no like, well, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like we're just like, we might say it in our heads, but then we're like, okay, how do we solve it?
Yeah. Like, because we know that like in that moment, if you're just like, oh, you really messed that up.
Yeah.
You're just going to feel awful. You're already feeling pressure from the mistake.
Yeah.
And so it's just going to make everybody more flustered. But I feel like there's just a little bit more of an awareness of that, because like we tend to be a little bit more emotionally intuitive. Yeah. So it's just like me showing my anger isn't what they need right now. How can I fix the problem right now? And then we'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
Which makes for such a smoother service overall.
Yeah.
And a better experience for the guests, which is nice.
Important
yeah.
part.
Yeah, because the last thing you want to do is enter into a restaurant and be like, ooh, it's like this environment feels very chaotic and very tension filled, and that's the last thing that you want. Like, there is split moments where you're like, you let your emotions get the better of you. Like I can say that I do it myself, where I like am very snippy sometimes, but then I think that we're much easier. We have a much easier time moving past those things. Yeah. Like, hey, sometimes I give an attitude, but like, I think women also are better at understanding that during service, it's service. Yeah. And if we're like doing 20 tickets at the same time and you guys are serving like a 25 seat section, like frustrations are high, anxiety's high, emotions are high, you're tired, you're stressed. Yeah. You don't want to be here. So it's like, we have those moments. It happens, move on, and then afterwards you're like, hey, sorry that I had that moment with you. Like it's not personal, it's just overwhelming. And I think women are easier at doing that, and men are easier at burying things because men are typically easier at burying things under the rug. But women are more easy at being like, shit, my bad. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't need to do that.
Yeah. I remember the first time I like made a mistake as a server and Bree was on pass. And I think I remember being like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And Bree was like, it's okay. I know how to fix it. Like, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's not, that made me want to not make a mistake again more because I'm like, I don't have to feel defensive right now. You know?
Yeah.
And so, and I think that like definitely our male staff around here are really good at it too, because we've created like such a good culture of that. But in all of the like male dominated kitchens that I've worked in, I haven't seen as much of a culture as that as here when you have either a balance or like a women dominated kitchen.
Yeah. It's very fear driven in a lot of men kitchens. There's a lot of like, you need to be afraid of us. And I understand the culture of having like kitchens be like the pinnacle of respect. I get it. But at the same sense, like anybody can cook. You know what I mean? Like shout out to Ratatouille. Anyone can cook. But like,
I don't know about that.
no, we can
You made us breakfast and it was
good.
It was amazing.
I can make a breakfast. It ends there, ladies. So I'm so impressed with what y'all do.
Now we'll put you in a chef white and we'll get you back there. Anybody
Catch
can
me up pig day.
yeah.
Just crying.
Just how do I hold this knife?
Yeah.
Anybody can cook, but I think it takes a special person to work in the industry in a kitchen. And I think it takes a special type of person to be able to give that hospitality where in the sense of serving tables. Like I don't have the personality style where I can like go to a table and be like, how's it going today, everybody? Like I'm not like, I'm an intense person. Sometimes that doesn't fit, but I fit in a kitchen.
Yeah.
Whereas I think that like your personality type might not fit in a kitchen, but you can rock the shit out of serving a table. So I think that that's interesting. I forget what point I was going off.
But I just thought that it's nice working somewhere that there is that mutual respect. Right? Because, you know, we just really see the best qualities in each other. We're like, okay, we can make this run as a team.
Yeah.
You know, because neither of us can do it by ourselves.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And that just makes service feel even better when like, especially from my point of view, like on the pass when I see like the servers are obviously doing an amazing job and like it like transferred into the kitchen. And I feel like when the kitchen is doing well, like you guys will tell us at the end, like you could also feel it. And it just feels like a nice cohesive little dance
vibe.
party. Yeah, it's great.
And like the laughter. The laughter is amazing. Like you have your laughter in like the server section where you guys are like talking and chatting and like laughing when you have the time. And then we'll close the kitchen and like when it's all women, you just hear like that laughter just come out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
And I think that that's so awesome. Like even if I was a diner, like I would be like, oh, they're making too much noise. I'd be like, oh, that's sick. Like look at everybody just having a good time.
Yeah.
It's like a dinner party.
Yeah.
It's like a huge dinner party.
And there's a lot of people that come in and they can feel that energy and they can see it and they're like, wow. And I always tell people, oh, we're like a little family here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
We are a little family here. As like toxic as some people think that is, I think I'm doing it now. And the most loving way for your work is to be your family.
Yeah, absolutely. Bree, I listened to your last podcast episode. I loved it. I was a huge fan. When you were talking about the duck, that your very first day, like you sent a chef an undercooked duck every time, and then after he just like made a duck with you, and all your ducks have been perfect since. I was laughing because I was like, I did not know that story.
Yeah.
But your meats are always perfect. Like whenever I walk in, I'm like, Bree's on meats. I'm like, every table, I'm like, you should get a meat.
It's just so fun and
so perfect. So I thought that was such a fun story to hear.
Yeah. Like, have you tried our bistecca?
Yeah. Like Bree's on meats. So you guys should really try out the whole protein list tonight.
it's good. Thanks. That's so nice. I remember I was working at Supply in the van for a little bit and I was in the meat section there for a while. Yeah. And I was always incredibly nervous working that station there because it was so intense and like felt like the stakes were so high. But I just had like the most amazing sous chef there. And he would always like be right behind my ear, like coaching me through everything. Yeah. Like times and everything. He was basically like my brain while I was doing everything, but like he got me into the habit of everything. So he was really great. And I like aspired to be him as a sous chef. He was just such a bright light and like a very intense environments. And
Yeah.
it was just so nice to have him.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, his name was brought teach now. I should say that.
Yeah.
He doesn't work in the industry anymore, unfortunately.
I had a very good sous chef like that in BC, actually, because I was put on meats there. Like, I ran their entremet throughout the summer. So, like, entremet is basically when you get, like, your meat portion, and it has, like, it's like our veg. Like, you're making the veg to the meat.
Like the sides.
Like the sides, yeah. I was working that. I ran that for the summer, and they put me on meats in the winter time, and I was there, and I was so nervous. Like, my anxiety goes up where I'm like, this is a very expensive product, and like, if you fuck it up, like, you're done. Like, so that's where my anxiety goes up. But he was always like so nonchalant about it. Like, he would like come over and like touch my knee and be like, "Oh, that's good," or "Doing a good job." Like, he was like this very intense French man that would like go on the line, and we had an open concept kitchen. He would go on the line, and like 5 o'clock would hit. Everybody has like those 5 o'clock eyes where you're like scrambling and trying to get everything done. And he would be like, "All right, team yoga now." And he would like do stretches in the middle of the line and be like, everybody needs to stretch, and like downward dog. And it's like, what is going on? But it makes you laugh. Yeah. And you go in, you're in a good mood. And then he would like come over and like get jokes with me, and like I'd be working like the grill and be like, "Oh, you're sweating." And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm this little French accent." And I'm like, "I don't know what's going on," but I feel much better. And I think that that's important as well, that like that just trickles down when you're built into a fear-driven kitchen. You become very afraid of things.
Yeah.
And so you become very comfortable in others.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're put into a kitchen where you have such motivating, freeing people who just make it nonchalant and understand your anxieties and then try to like battle those, that makes you just so much better. Like, and like I can imagine that even in the front of house, like people are nervous once they go in. They're like, how do I remember all these things? How do I like make every guest feel the same? How do I balance all these things? But when you go in with such a great like team, even if it's not management, even if it's just your coworkers, that just makes the whole experience better, even just for yourself.
That's definitely here. Here at Northern Navy, we have great managers. I'm really lucky to work under 2 women, Kara and Gabby. And they definitely helped like shape me when I was coming in. I was coming in from a lot bigger restaurants that weren't quite like the caliber of like North and Navy. And they just like really continually enforced confidence in me. You know, like whenever I made a mistake, they were there to be like, "Okay, well, just that's fine. It's fine. It's going to be okay. Like, how can we just, you know, continue to get better?" And they're both so good for that. And that's how I ended up in wine, because I had no confidence about wine coming in. I knew that I was starting to like it. I still didn't have quite a palate for red wine. And it was when I started just sort of looking into bottles and realizing the power as consumers that we have when we choose our wine, and what growers and winemakers are doing with their wine. I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is a really cool thing. And I started to just get interested in it little by little. And I definitely made mistakes and I didn't know what I was talking about. But Gabby, who runs our wine program here, was just so excited to come beside me. And I was like, okay, I want to take this as far as I can, Gabby. I'm really interested in this. And she just really took that and like ran with it. She helped me build confidence. She helped me feel like I could sort of, you know, establish myself. So many wines. She started bringing me to tastings. She helped me get my WSET 2 and I'm getting my WSET 3. And it was just that like continual vote of confidence from the people above me that without that, I think I would have been too intimidated. Because wine can be an intimidating world and it can be very male dominated.
Sure.
You know, there's so like, I don't want to not acknowledge how many women are coming up in wine. Like there's so many. There's more female winemakers than ever now. They're really changing the game and doing really cool things. And even in Ottawa, I've had the privilege of being able to see so many women in like wine director roles, in roles that they're the ones coming to doing the tastings. They're the one in charge. But I've also seen the other side of it where I was kind of shocked. I was like, this is still patriarchy in the wine world. Like it is dominated by men who are very old school. When you talk about wine, when you talk about like old world wine, it's very old school men. And I definitely have had a few experiences with that. That's kind of shocking.
Yeah. I was going to say every like sommelier, because like in my program at school, we did like a beverage course. And like we had a wine course, and every sommelier that ever came in was a man.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is very confusing to me because I don't understand why. To me, and this might sound bad, but to me, wine can be very feminine. I think like wine is very feminine.
Yeah.
And so I was like confused as to why. But then again, it goes back.
It's always like he'll get the beer and she'll get the wine.
Yeah.
And then the people in charge are still men. You know?
That's the crazy thing to me is like it's very comparative towards like the industry.
Yeah.
Because like in cooking originally was the woman's job. It was women belong in the kitchen, women belong doing these sets of things. And then once it became a monetized thing where you could make money off of it, it was women don't belong here.
Yeah.
Women belong anywhere else. This is a man's world. You know, men should be, you know, grilling this fucking steak. And it was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, there were so many societal changes that just like did a complete 360 just because you were making money off of it.
Yeah.
And that's so wild to see.
Yeah.
And that's very comparative, I guess, to what you were talking about with like the wine industry.
Yeah. Because a sommelier is like a position. It's an achievement. It's a very high achievement. So I feel like it's just been dominated by men where it's just, you know, they're going to be at the top no matter what, which, you know, same with kitchens. But it was funny. My first, if I may tell you guys a little story, and my first experience with it, Gabby invited me to this big wine event at the Museum of Nature. So it was gorgeous. So, you know, like I get dressed up, I'm ready to go, I'm ready to try wines. I was so excited. It was my first big event. And we arrived and we were going up the elevator, and we were in the elevator with 3 men, probably like 50 years old or whatever. And we're there, you know, like representing the restaurant. Like we have invites. And one of the men goes, "Oh, good for you guys. You're not watching the Kardashians tonight. You're instead doing this." And we were both like, "What?" And he goes, "Isn't the Kardashians on tonight?" And I said, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't really watch the Kardashians. He goes, "Oh, you don't watch the Kardashians? Good for you. Good for you. All right, you two enjoy the wine event." And we got out of the elevator, and I was like, what just happened? And then I get into the room, and there's men everywhere, and there's women there too.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of men everywhere. And I'm walking through, I'm going to the stall. I see a producer that like I wanted to try their wines because I wanted to get more of them on our menu. And I hear this man going, beep, beep. And I was walking through a crowd, and he honked at me. And I was like, I think that you need to redirect your path.
Yeah.
You don't just beep at me.
No.
And it was just like this moment where like those two things happened within 3 minutes of each other. And I had to take a minute and remind myself, I deserve to be here as much as they do.
Yeah.
And it felt like they were continually, you know, whether they meant to or not, trying to tell me like, you don't belong here.
Yeah.
You don't deserve to be here. And I was like, I deserve to be here as much as you do. And I'm not going to feel belittled.
Yeah.
And so that's definitely something that I've tried to take. And luckily I have Gabby who was able to be like, so this is normal, but it doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
You know, we, again, like she was the one that enforced that. Like, we deserve to be here. These guys are silly.
Yeah.
So
I feel like Gabby would be a good person to have on your side in that scenario.
Yeah. She's lovely. Do you guys have anything crazy like that with kitchens? Because I feel like kitchens are.
I feel like because of the typical like culture in kitchens, when it's men, you get more of the like, I don't want to say harassment, but more of
No, it's
like,
harassment.
It's other than harass.
more of the harassment towards the way you look and things like that. Like you hear crazy things that come out of these guys' mouths.
Yeah.
And then typically, like you said earlier, it is mainly towards the female serving staff because when you're in a kitchen, you're one of the guys. Like it's always been and I love that. That's my personal, I love being one of the guys. I'm like dirty. I'm like covered in dirt, but I also love that I'm a woman covered in dirt.
Yeah.
I love that. But regardless, so it's always been more like I get touched a lot where it's like inappropriate, but they make it out to be like a work thing. And it's never happened here, thank God. But like there's been times in kitchens that I worked in before where it's been like a pat here and a slap here and like comments about what I look like, what my hair looks like, what my make, or like I don't have makeup on and you're really tired. You look really tired today. And it's like, you can actually just suck my dick because I actually just look like this every day. Like, I'm coming to work. You don't have makeup on. I'm not touching your ass. I'm not touching your hips. I'm not like commenting on the shirt that you have on. I'm not like looking at you when you come in on a night off and go, oh my God, I didn't know you look like that. Like, I think that those are things that I've experienced more. Like, I haven't experienced more like, well, no, I lied. I've had more experiences about being called an aggressive woman in fashion than I have anywhere in any other attribute of my life.
Yeah.
Where it's been like, oh, she's so aggressive. Because I'm assertive in things, and like we've talked about it before, I can't come off as very intense, but I don't think I come off intense in a scary way. I think it's more like,
I've been kind of scared of you.
Yeah,
but like, I'm mad and I'm like, I'm kind of scared.
There is moments
I'm scared of you, but like, I liked being scared of you.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm scared of her. It's not like I like it.
Terrified of this.
Oh, yeah, now it's not like I'm scared she's so mean. It's like, yo, she's very strong. I'm kind of scared.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's,
Double-edged sword. Yeah, it's a double-edged sword. But there has been, I find that it comes off in a more respectful way from women than it does from men.
yes.
Like if a woman
like
says,
you were saying earlier.
like if a woman's like, you're very bold, I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, I love that.
Yeah.
If a man's like, you're very aggressive in the way that you speak, I'm like, okay, so I'm just going to become more aggressive in the way that I speak to you because obviously you're just so little you can't handle it.
Yeah.
That's the way that I process in my brain.
Yeah.
But like, I've had more experiences like that. Like, and then of course it gets overwhelming and then you feel shitty about yourself. You go home and you're like, do I belong here? Do I belong in this industry? And where else will I go? Because like they've deemed my personality type as not fitting, as like not good enough, as not quiet enough, as not mousy enough. Like, and then my sister actually, because I had a moment like this a while ago where my sister was like, why would you dim your light to let others shine? And I was like, yeah, fuck them. I'm just going to be who I am. And if you don't like it, you don't have to like me. I'm here to make money. You're here to make money. I'm doing something I love.
Yeah.
You're doing the same thing. You don't like me, then don't fucking talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how to go about this. Okay, Green, you were saying.
I was saying that I think it's a good thing to be a little bit aggressive in this industry, or I think it's a good trait to have while being in this industry. I came into this industry like very quiet and like you said, like very timid or like mousy. I don't really know what
Reserved.
that. I was just very quiet. I wasn't very.
I've never called her mousy.
No,
I've never called her mousy.
No, you were giving it. Let's be clear. I'm the opposite of aggressive, and you said mousy, so like I would fall into that, I guess. I don't know what mousy means. I was like
Call me out there.
Wow, I didn't mean it like that. But like, I think it's better to have that personality type because there are so many. It's so like male dominant that you need to like kind of like up to their level and like play on the same field that they're going. If they're being aggressive, then not aggressive, but if they're being like very assertive or whatever, you should match them.
Yeah.
And I'll always remember like my first big stage I had in Ottawa when I first moved here was at Fraser Cafe. And the girl working the meat station, well, she was a girl and I was like never seen that before in like a high-end restaurant. And I was terrified of her.
Yeah.
She was like strong. She was the loudest one there. Her hair, she had like so many, she was so colorful and her hair like, and she knew what was going on. Like I was not allowed near her. And like, she was like, not, if it wasn't the chef, like she was running the station. I'm like, well, like that would be the coolest thing ever would to be that girl in a kitchen. And that night I had like a fine stage, but at the end of the night he was like, you're too quiet, like you're not gonna work out here. So sorry, you're not hired. And I was like, man, like I'm so quiet, I need to like develop this more aggressive side of me. And I feel like as I've been here at Nona, I've been able to like come out of my shell a bit more.
Yeah.
In that like assertiveness and like working with other women who are also more assertive and like aggressive, I guess it like definitely helps the smaller, quieter people.
I feel like, so I've been here for 3 years now. I've got to work with you. And I feel like, I mean, right away, I was like always just really impressed by you. And then I feel like I got to be here when you transitioned to sous chef, when you were promoted there. And I remember just thinking like, wow, that makes like so much sense. And Bree's going to be so good at this. And I remember just kind of like, I got to kind of see you really take on that role and then like continue to take those steps out where like, I feel like you've struck this really cool balance of really staying true to yourself and who you are, and not trying to like emulate this form of aggression that like isn't you, but seeing you being able to just like articulate like so quickly and take control of a room in such a way that is Brie has been so cool. And just, I feel like you are true to yourself and you take this control and be like aggressive in a way that is just like very uniquely you, and I think it has a very feminine quality to it. And that's such like you know, it's such a powerful way. You know, where like I feel like so often there's this confusion between being like, okay, if I need to be more aggressive, then I need to be more masculine, right? And I feel like you never for a moment have done that, where you're like, I'm going to be more aggressive, I'm going to be more assertive, you know, I'm now in a position of power. Like you
literally have to be.
Exactly. Like you are, that's been like
run a kitchen.
Yeah. But you are, instead of, you know, like trying to like emulate more masculinity, you do it in a way that is feminine. And I think that is one of the engines of the kitchen. You know, that's why like it's working so well, and it's such an impressive kitchen, and it's really cool to work under it. Assume like you.
Thanks, I appreciate it. That's enough. Should we try more wine?
I'm gonna talk about it some more.
Well, let's get some wine out while we say that.
I do.
I can reach it. Yeah, I'm sitting on my head in your lap.
No, it's okay. You probably shouldn't see them because we want you to. Oh yeah. Sorry.
It's okay. Go ahead.
I do think one of the great things about working with Brie as a sous is that she is almost more nerve-wracking to disappoint.
Yes.
I'm so terrified of disappointing Brie, because to me she's like, this is gonna sound bad, but it doesn't come off. It's not like meant to be bad.
I don't take it personally.
No, but you're such like a sweet, innocent person. To like disappoint you comes off so like terrible for me. I'm like, oh, I need to like do so much better. Not that I don't do like my best when my other chefs are here, but I'm like, I need to like, I cannot disappoint this person.
Yeah,
like
Brie deserves better.
Yeah, like Brie deserves the best. And so everything I pass to her, if it's not the best, then I want her to send it back to me. I want her to say, this can be better. This can be better. Season this better. This season this better. And I think that also comes off from your positive reinforcement that you put into your management style, where you're like, oh, good sauce. Oh, good this. Oh, good that. And then you're like, okay, boom, clicks in my head. That's what she wants. That's what she's getting the rest of the night.
Yeah.
And then it's like, that's what she's getting every service from now on. I am going to be like top fucking 10 of my services every single time she's on the pass, because she is so inspiring for me to do my best.
Like, oh my gosh. Well, I just do what I would want. Like when I'm on the line, I want to hear if I did something nice. Like I want to hear if it's nice, because I think I did well, but if I don't hear anything back, like I just feel like a machine, like pumping things out, and like it doesn't feel like I'm doing it because it feels so personal to me. Like it's like nice to cook, like it's fun, and like you love it. So like if I love something so much, to hear my chefs say they love it too, like that just makes you want to do it even more. So if I'm on the plating something, I'm like, this is nice. I didn't cook it. This is nice. Like I'm happy to serve this. I'm like gonna tell them. Yeah. Or like when you guys come up and say like, oh, this table had the best whatever they've ever had
of their life.
Yeah. And then I know I didn't touch that. Like I put it on a plate, but I didn't season it. I didn't do anything. So like, of course I'm gonna go back and be like, hey, the person in the court all night, like they loved everything you did tonight. Like you made their night. Yeah.
Which is also a really good thing that you do, I've noticed. Because like I find you'll come to the kitchen and like if someone's on the pass, you'll like talk to them, but you're making eye contact with the person. Like, I remember
I trying to like lift my voice. I'm like, y'all are listening.
You're like, I want you to hear this. Yeah. Like I remember there was one night where we had an incident with somebody that used to work here who hurt himself, and he had to leave. Middle of service, 120 people on the books, like crazy night. And it was like, okay, Veronica's working meats. And I don't work meats here often. I don't work meats here often. So it is kind of nerve-wracking going in. And I was working next to one of the servers we have here who used to work in the kitchen, Malcolm. And he went on to veg. And it was like, hey, he doesn't really work here very much. He doesn't work in the kitchen anymore. I'm working meats for like my second shift here. Like I wasn't prepared. And then you had come to the kitchen and you were like, somebody just said a fisherman had said that they had the best halibut they'd ever had. And I was like, fuck yeah. And that just like makes it makes putting in the work, putting in the energy, missing the things that you're missing with your friends, your family, so much worth it, because you're like, I'm doing it for a purpose.
Yeah.
And that's what, like, you do it very well. I noticed a lot of servers will be like, they mention this, they mention that, but a lot of the times I hear you and I'm like, that makes me so happy, because it's less like you're not taking thanks for things that you didn't do.
Yeah.
Which I find a lot of people in the industry do. Like, a lot of chefs will be like, oh, thank you. And then I'm there like, but you didn't cook it. You didn't do it. You didn't nothing. Like, you set it on a plate.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to hear it when it comes from somebody.
Like, I love the instant gratification that this industry gives me.
Yeah.
I thrive off the attention and the instant gratification. And so I always try to be like, I'm sure the girls could also use some instant gratification, you know, could hear, you know, that like you're still sweating your own pot, but like, yeah, this is because I get to hear it and you guys don't. So I always try to like send that back.
It's always nice to be praised.
Yeah. But I wanted to note something that you said about like being a machine and pumping things out. I feel like it's so interesting because we're clearly all in this industry because we love caring for people and like showing people that we care for them in these ways. And I feel like it's so weird because so quickly, if you don't have that, you can feel like a machine.
Yeah.
You know, like in the kitchen, I think it's like next level because you don't have that engagement with the table. And then sometimes I swear folks come in and they're like, you are not a person. And I'm like, oh, I literally just said hi.
Yeah.
Like, that's my name. And you responded with Diet Coke.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can really, it's weird. Like it can, after you work, you know, I remember working in bigger restaurants. Be like you'd be working like 12 shifts in a row, you don't want to take a night off, whatever, you got school to pay for. And by the end of it, I'm like, I can't remember if I'm like a person.
Yeah.
Because people are just interacting with me like I'm a machine.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like customer service, that's like everything. But it's like interesting. So I feel like as a team working together in the restaurant, constantly reminding each other that like you're a person and I see you and I see your care is like so important. To do that for each other.
Yeah. Because you can very easily feel so little.
Yeah.
Very easily feel like the dirt on the people, on the bottoms of these people's shoes.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people come in, they take advantage because you work in the service industry. Yeah. And that's wild to even think about because a lot of the time, these are one of the hardest people. These are the hardest working people you'll ever see in your life. Like, we miss out on so many things. Yeah. We miss out on like even just a good work-life balance. Sometimes it's very challenging to find. Yeah. And the fact that we're coming in, like you said, it's very easy to become a machine. Like I'm making pasta every day. I'm making the same pasta every day. It can become very much like I'm not even thinking about it. Yeah. But when it comes up to like getting that satisfaction of like people being like, this is the best pasta I've ever had. Yeah. It's like, okay, great. Like I'm not like invisible. Like you see me and I have emotions and I have these things that I need in order to do my job better. And you're fulfilling those things because we're humans and we need things fulfilled, especially gratification and reinforcement. And like, that is one of the best things I think that we have in this industry is people just like treating us as human beings. Yeah. Like we're not a till. Yeah. And I'm not a pasta boiler. Yeah. So I'm treated as people have emotions and don't want to go outside and cry at the end of the night because you disrespected us. Yeah. Yeah. And give us that tip money because we deserve it. The girl's got a lid. Yeah.
Should we rinse out these glasses a little bit?
Yeah. You know what?
Doing a little water splash.
Season.
Mine's a red. So, okay. So to explain what we're going to do next, Bree and I went out and purchased 2 bottles of wine. We're going to put Ellen, so her test of her wine knowledge. Okay. I don't want her to.
I already saw it.
Oh, so did you? Well, how much do you know now?
How much do you know about this?
I know what it is and where it's from.
Well, that's all we know.
So maybe we'll start.
I try not to look.
We'll start with mine.
Yeah, I told you you should put yours in this.
I thought it was in a tumbler, even though it was getting chilled.
But I'm mistaken. What Bible is and where it comes from tells you a lot about the wine, but there's also so much more than that.
Okay, no, you didn't see the year of it though. So maybe
yes. Can you pass me that rag, please?
That's underneath.
Yeah, just toss it over there.
You can guess what year you think it is.
Okay.
How vintagey is it? I know a girl's balling on a budget, so it's not too much of a vintage year.
I had a table once that wanted some wine for their family dinner, and I was like, "All right, what price point are we talking about?" Dead.
Is one was a bubbly.
She's asked me dead in the eyes. She goes, balling on a budget, and I was like, "I got you on. I got you."
Oh, look at this.
All right.
So we'll do a little swirl.
I'll let you guys know what it is since she already knows it. This is a Shiraz from South Australia. It is called Wakefield and it's called Promised Land. And the only reason why I bought it was because the label's really pretty.
Oh, she's
She's cute. That's usually how I
Can you gonna zoom in on the bottle label, producer?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
That I'm gonna add on it later. Yeah, we're all expecting him to just pull the magic of
And I'll just walk up with it.
Weird.
It's very light.
Yeah, super light. It's kind of like starts off as the last one, but it doesn't finish the same.
Similar.
It doesn't dry out your mouth as much as the last one.
Yeah. So this one definitely is a little bit more tannic. This one a little bit more smooth. You kind of get those like earthy notes, like I love that like dirt. Yeah, you know. And I love a little bit of dirt in my wine. I would taste the earth that it came from.
So this is one of Australia's first families of wine. It's got the little certification. So something special happened the day we dug our first vineyard dam. Tiny fossilized seahorses were unearthed and discovered that showed the promise of the land and its fertile soils. Today, these seahorses are proudly featured on our labels as a symbol of quality. This is a full-bodied wine with vibrant, spicy fruit characters and a satisfying long finish.
Nice.
I get just satisfying finish.
Satisfying finish. I definitely get it's like spicy fruits, a little bit earthy. I would put this one more like a medium body.
Yeah.
I think.
So you have this amazing Instagram account.
Yes.
How would you sell this on your Instagram account?
This one. Okay, so
Please say it for everyone to hear.
I started an Instagram account just because I love drinking wine and talking about it. Like I said earlier, I think what I loved most about wine is that every bottle talks, every bottle has a story. So not really knowing a whole lot about this one, I'd say, it's a Shiraz. It's from Australia. I would say that it's got some like nice spicy fruit notes, medium body, very light tannin. So if you don't like that sort of like saran wrap your tongue feeling, you'll like this one. It's
such a good way to describe it.
Yeah. It has like a nice little touch of minerality. I would probably say that you could definitely try it if you typically like a Shiraz, but you want to go for a little like lighter, almost afternoon wine moment, which is what we're doing here, because it definitely has those like core Shiraz notes. And then I would probably just note that like Shiraz and like Syrah are interesting. Shiraz and Syrah are the same thing. You typically call Syrah. It's the same varietal, but when it's Syrah, it comes from like France or like Old World.
Okay.
You tend to get a little bit more body, a little bit more tannins, and a little bit more like black peppercorn notes to it. And then, of course, it really depends on the wine. We've got this really cool Northern Italian like Alpine Syrah here that really drinks like dark like cassis, a little bit of like bitter cocoa and black pepper. It's really cool. So that's coming from like Old World, which is like Italy and France and stuff.
Yeah.
And then Australia is part of the New World. When you look at New World wines, you typically get a higher alcohol content. You typically get like a little bit more like sugar so they can have a note of like sweetness to them. And they tend to drink just kind of a little bit smoother and a little bit less tannic. So this one definitely has, less tannic than your Old World one. So I'd say, if you're interested in Syrah and Shiraz, try them both. They're the same varietal, but you're going to get different experiences out of them because they're from different worlds.
Very cool. And where did you find this one?
I bought this at the LCBO. I think that in my personal opinion, if I were to say anything, I would say that this wine is a good wine for typical non-red wine drinkers.
Yeah, if you
I don't really love red.
Yeah.
I mean, my glass is almost empty.
Juicy. It's very light. It's not like a holy shit, I'm drinking.
Yeah.
Like the wine that I like sometimes where I'm licking the barrel. Like it's not like very in your face. Like the color, for those of you who are watching our YouTube video, can be a little deceiving, I think, because it's a little dark.
Yeah.
But it's not like,
but it's
not
one thing that you can
terrible.
look for is like when you hold it up against the light, the rims of it are very see-through. And so that's going to tell you that it's a little bit lighter.
Like
The legs, a little legs, little juicy, which is why I always, whenever people say that they don't like red wine, I'm like, I bet you do. It's just like, you got to find the juicy ones. As there are so many like juicy ones, old world and new world, because that's what I like. I want like, I respect like, you know, the slap you in the face wine.
Yeah.
The shrink wrap your tongue wine. I don't like that unless I'm having food.
Yeah. If you're eating. Yeah.
If you're eating, then I love it. But I just want to drink wine all the time. And so I usually lean into a wine that's like light in weight on the palate, that has more fruit forward notes, that has some like little baby grippiness. But you know, she's just a baby.
Yeah. Just holds it on.
Yeah. And that's usually what I like for wine. Wine can be like so much fun instead of just being like these like heavy moments. Like if you say you don't like blank in wine, I'm like, that's a challenge.
I want to find you one that
You know?
Yeah.
There's so many. People are like, I don't like Chardonnay. I'm like, have you tried
This
like a mineral driven, unoaked Chardonnay from like Tuscany?
Yeah.
You know? Because it's probably a lot different than what you think you like. But yeah.
I have a question for you because we're gonna change off of red soon because Breed is like a rosé.
I have like
a sparkling red.
Yeah.
So I'm half Chilean on my dad's side, and Chile produces a lot of red wine.
Yeah.
Chile produces a lot of wine. Would you consider them old,
Chile.
like old world wine, because they've been doing it for a while now, or would you consider them to be new? Like obviously, Chilean and Italian wine are very different.
Yeah.
Like Chilean wine is a lot more intense, I find, than London wine I've drank, and I think that's why I like, because I grew up on it.
Yeah.
But like, 12-year-old me haven't lost.
Yeah.
But like, how would you compare the two?
The old world and new world classifications, like the words are kind of deceiving because, like, you know, civilization and people have been making wine in different places for a long time, but they're just like classified. So Chile falls into like the new world classification just because that's where it falls into. North America is in the new world classification, and then most of your like European wines are the ones that are the old world ones. But I don't know. I drinking it, I would say people that drink, I find people that ask for like a Chilean wine probably lean a little bit more into the older world notes.
Yeah, a little bit stronger.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But you know, it also just like depends.
Yeah. And then on your side, Brie, what would you pair it with? Now that you had a sip, to put you on the spot.
Yes, you saying you do that to me.
I'll tell you what I would pair it with. I wouldn't do
From our menu.
Yeah,
let's go from our menu.
I would do probably specifically.
Okay.
If you're having the polpettes, I would have this.
Yeah, that'd be delicious with the
And I would have it with the Corsetti, actually. I wouldn't have it with any red specific deep, because a lot of people associate red wine with red meats.
Yeah.
Like heavier red wheats.
Yeah.
I would
So polpettes are meatballs.
Polpettes are meatballs.
Duh.
In tomato sauce.
Exactly.
Never heard of them.
Yeah, I do not.
Uncultured.
And that'd be delicious with polpettes.
Yeah. I wouldn't like.
Remember when, I forget which prep cook it was, but they were making like, they made a few batches of the most insanely peppery polpettes. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
This would be great with that. That would, you know, that'd be so nice.
I wouldn't pair it with any other strong, intense flavors because I think that it's pretty light. So I
think the mushroom.
the
quadri would I go with that? That would be my
even the mushroom toast. The mushroom toast, okay, truffle caramel.
Yeah, that's nice.
That would be good with it. So nothing too harsh. Like let it speak for itself. I would say
You want a little bit more like layers if you're gonna have it with like a fatty meat, because when you have a fatty meat, that's when you want wine that has a bit more tannins and a bit more acidity to go with like a fatty cut.
Yeah.
That's just
Okay, take a sip of this. Cheers. There's a little bubbling.
Oh, she smells great.
and then
It's so bubbly.
it's a weird taste you get at the end there, huh?
It's like pop rockets in my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I was gonna say it's like a weird, almost savory taste you get at the end.
Savory. Yeah.
I don't I didn't taste the end. I was overwhelmed.
I'm getting a little bit of like overripe strawberries.
Yeah,
The mushy ones. Like strawberries are like. Do you ever eat your strawberries with the green stuff on it?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. If you have like a full strawberry with the stem or whatever you want to call it.
stem.
Yeah,
I would call it stem.
I would call it a stem. Thanks, ladies.
This is fun though.
That's insane to drink. It is
Okay.
like
So you don't know. You didn't see. Did you see?
No, I didn't.
So where? If you would just guess
Oh,
where it could be from.
oh my gosh.
It's like obviously. I
They're
can't.
putting you on the
So yeah.
Oh man, it's kind of cotton candy. A sparkling rosé.
It's new. It's new world.
It's New World.
our producer's gonna come try as well.
Oh, you're not.
There you go.
Are you in frame?
Probably.
Yeah.
Say hi.
It's kind of cotton candy at the end, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It tastes very fruity.
You don't taste a lot of it because of the bubbles, I find, like overwhelming your
Yeah.
mouth, and then you swallow, and then you just get the end notes.
Yeah, I feel like there are a cluster of bubbles. It's not like bubbles all over, you know?
No, yeah.
It's good.
It's good. This is my 4th glass of wine. I'm such a lightweight, guys, on the top of this.
No, we're having fun.
I'm having the rest.
Okay, so if you were to guess,
I'm gonna say. Is it Canadian?
yes.
Okay.
Oh.
It's Canadian. Prince Edward County?
No, but kind of
Niagara?
it kind of close. It's in Quebec. It's from Quebec.
It's from Quebec. Okay.
Yeah. Here, let's reveal the.
Wait, I need to guess the varietal.
Yeah. While we read.
Okay, so from Quebec. Oh, it's in French.
You will take all the guesses you want.
Because she can't read it.
I mean, I think it says
Because it's super fruity, and because it's like a little bit darker, maybe I would say like, is it agave?
You tell me, Ellen. I'm so sorry.
Who knows?
Well, fun fact, I talked to Gabby and asked Gabby, I was like, what's a wine that Ellen is not going to know anything about? Like, I don't want a wine that
Set me up.
Yeah.
she did. I was like, I don't want a wine that's on our menu. I don't want, like,
so
what do
funny.
you think Ellen does not know? So I could, like, surprise her a little bit. But this is going to come onto the menu soon.
That's amazing.
I was gonna say, it's a
I
great
so
wine,
have
so if it's
complicated
not
feelings
there-
right now.
I'm sorry.
No. I get obsessive. I hate not knowing.
I'm going to do a quick Google search.
I grabbed my phone already.
Do you have that app?
Yes, I do.
This is a very good wine, actually. This is very nice.
It's not on the menu yet, but plug Northern Navy, you can get it soon.
Yeah, I just after I started here, I just loved, serving wine and food and stuff like that. And the intense feelings I would get when a table would have a question about a wine that I didn't know about, it would stay with me. And now every bottle of wine that we have on the menu, I create an entire tech sheet for it. And keep
You have full
Bible, yeah.
because I'm just like, that feeling of not knowing, I'm like, I can't take it. I cannot take it, because even if I don't recall it right away, then I can at least be like, I'm gonna, I'll be right back, phrase it. And I can just like whip open the binder and take a look.
And it's like nerve wracking. I have hosted a couple times at Northern Navy just for follies.
I'm so good at it.
I walk people to their table, but I would sometimes serve a pulpet, and I've made these pulpets, and I will sit them down at the table and be like, "Here are your meatballs," and leave because it's so. Obviously I'm not a server, but I get so overwhelmed at the table.
Yeah,
and you can forget things that 100%.
Yeah, I experienced this early on with wine. So when I started to really learn about it and take a shining to it, so. Nebbiolo is a very Italian grape varietal. So Nebbiolo makes Nebbiolo. It also makes Barbaresco, and it makes Barolo. So they just have different aging requirements. They have different requirements of where the grapes can be grown. So if it's a Barbaresco, it has to be from the Barbaresco region. If it's a Barolo, it has to be from the Barolo region. And then it has to meet these aging requirements. And then Barbera is from Piedmont, which is near where you grow Nebbiolo and Barbaresco and Barolo in Piedmont. And then these are little regions inside of them. And in Piedmont, you also grow a lot of Barbera, which is a different grape varietal. And there was this man sitting at the bar who was like something else. I did not like him. I didn't like his vibe. But he orders a Nebbiolo. We didn't have a Nebbiolo or something like that. And we had a Barbera. And I was like, oh, do you mean the Barbera? And he goes, it's all the same grape. And I was like, oh, yeah. And walked away. And I was like, Ellen, you knew that was wrong. You knew that he was wrong and you knew that you were right. And in the moment, I was just like, of course he's right. Why would I be right? And that's imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
But I still kick myself for not like be like, oh no, actually I know better. But like I feel like I constantly have those moments where I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, I do know.
Yeah.
But
That reminds me.
that's all.
That reminds me of a story that you said one day where you were like, I love, because Nona's been introducing a lot more women run wineries into their wine collection. And you were like, I love bringing a table full of businessmen.
I love wine.
And selling it to them and then being like, oh, it's so delicious. And you're like, yeah, and guess what?
After
Women
they buy it,
buy it after they you're like, yeah, guess what?
That's
pouring in black. I love that.
If there's a table of really like masculine men that, you know, for whatever reason, I'm just like, this is a little too much, then we have a huge selection of wine that's made by women. And I'm like, they are putting their dollars into that bottled wine. They are getting a women-made wine.
But they also enjoy it.
But they also, that's the thing. I'm like, I'm never going to bring a table a wine, no matter who they are, the wine that they don't like. But it's just like, I'm going to bring you a woman-made wine.
You're going to blow their
But
mind.
I'm gonna have that moment to myself where I'm like, your dollars went to her.
Yeah.
Are they ever shocked? Are they ever like, oh, really? A woman?
I had one table that was weird. Like I gave them like two men. They were there with their wives, partners, whatever. And I gave them like a couple of options, and the women were really into it. So I was like, this was actually a collaboration of all of the women winemakers in the area. And this one is random just by like this really like badass woman. The ones really fit what they wanted. And the men were just like, they seemed really into it. And then after I said that, they were like, oh no, they asked for another bottle on the menu. And I was like, oh, you hate women.
Interesting. For your partners. And it was able.
But no, typically I find here our clientele is really, really good. Typically it's something that tables are excited about. Typically it's something that they're impressed that our wine menu showcases such a good balance of women in wine and men in wine. And it really just is about how good the bottle is at the end of the day. You're just trying to enjoy the bottle at the table. So that was only like that one time, and I was reading into the situation. Typically our clients, like the people that come here, are pretty good. And so
I think it's really amazing that you gave them an experience of something they probably wouldn't have picked on their own.
exactly.
But they didn't know how much they would love it.
And
it's just so happens. It's
so
women, you know?
Exactly.
I think that's great. And it's opening their eyes and their palates, and that you're giving them that experience that Yours and Navy always talks about, is like elevating your like normal dining experience.
Yeah, because that's the thing is like when I go out to eat, and if I came to a place that like my bill would be around the same as North and 80, I want to learn something while I'm there. You know, and and I get that maybe not everybody wants to necessarily learn something. Sometimes you go in a situation and you know what you like and you know what you want, and that's fine, and that's great, and no hate on that. But for me, I'm like, if I didn't learn something or have my eyes open to something when I went out to eat, like, why did I go then? You know? And so it's always fun to, when you find a table that you can tell thinks the same way. I'm like, okay, well, like, what can we learn today? What can we try new today? Like,
or like be inspired in some kind of way.
Essentially.
And like, how do you walk into North and Navy, especially on like ladies' night, and not be like, ooh, I don't want this wine because it's made by women. And then you don't want to eat any of the food because it's also made by women.
Well, it was like that time Tessa
Virtue,
you were their server, so
came in to celebrate her latest achievement, getting inducted into the Olympic Hall of Fame. And it was 7 women at the table. It was like her like friends, her mom, like her coach, her support system. And at that table, there were how many? 14 or 17?
16, I think, maybe.
It was
14.
It was
college medals.
It was a high number. 14 to 17.
Yeah.
Olympic medals between the women at that table alone. And that was a night that we were an entirely female staff in the restaurant. And they were tucked into our little library room, which is kind of a room just like tucked on for itself. And they noticed, and they said, hey, like, I'm seeing all women here. And I was like, yeah, actually the staff, the entire kitchen tonight that cooked all your food has been all women. And they were so excited. And so they all went and they wanted to take a picture with you
That was
guys.
so
You
fun.
all had
That
a
was
picture
nice.
together. And it was such a cool moment.
Yeah. It was like kind of nice to like cook for such powerful people and for them to feel like we should give our respects to them or like say thank you or so like
excited.
wow, like that's thank you.
Yeah.
And it just felt so nice.
Yeah.
So I've heard this wine, Brie. It's now your turn. I'm putting you on the spot again.
I've been thinking about it. Okay, but I personally, and I am not a wine pairer, but I think the mortadella on our menu right now would be really good with this.
Oh yeah.
With the pickled sea buckthorn, I think would go well.
So nice.
Do you approve?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I think that's my answer.
Yeah. I'm sticking to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
What would you pick?
With this one,
Yeah.
I'm going to go really basic and say for one of our dessert options, we have the Parmesan balsamic.
Oh yeah.
I think
Oh, that'd be fun.
very nice with this because it's so fruity that it would just balance really nice.
100%.
Especially the bubbles would just cut through the fat from all of the balsamic, all of the Parmesan that you're eating.
Do you have another take on it?
I feel like the mortadella and the parm are like such good options. Trying to think of our menu right now.
Or if you were at home,
Yeah. If I was at
having your girl dinner,
She's
Okay,
like,
this is really
pancake.
if I'm cooking a pancake,
smiley fries.
absolutely. Okay, this is very specific, but imagine with like a feta mint watermelon salad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I think that would be nice. I also think that it would just be nice with like a plate of like some cheese and some nuts.
Yeah.
You know, and get yourself a nice little mixture of hard cheeses. I always like bubbles and already saying with like
Maybe like
light cheese.
maybe like smart food popcorn.
Yeah. I like a girl dinner.
Maybe that. Oh my goodness. Yes. Look, I don't pair any wine with popcorn.
Okay, so Elite, this is the wine because you're having your girl dinner.
Yes, I might have to brew.
Yes. Well, how will I zoom in? Producer?
That was definitely not long enough for a zoom in.
You hold it then.
No, just go. Like that.
And here, we'll do this.
I feel like we need to get to our fun facts.
Yeah.
Very excited to hear the fun facts.
So I have a fun fact. So every podcast we're going to do a fun fact segment. So here is our fun fact segment. Next week,
We don't even need to find Nadia for that. Anything.
next week, Brie will say
I
it.
have the fact.
I have a fact. Yeah, I have a fact of wine. And it goes along with women, which is our theme, obviously.
Always.
Did you know that in the Roman Empire, it was like basically illegal for women to drink wine? Only men could drink wine. And if your husband found you drinking wine, he actually had the right to kill you.
Aww.
Man. Man, that's harsh.
No,
You just shouldn't be scared of a drunk woman with her ambition. Oh man, I was gonna tell you what's right.
Yeah.
And they were like, we as an empire need to prevent this.
Yeah, because it would be destructed. We would absolutely go in there.
They're like, girls can't get together over a glass of wine.
No.
We will fail.
Too powerful.
We can't be chatty by a rock with a glass of wine that we're drinking.
Honestly, sitting around a rock.
That's funny you say that fact, and then you also earlier said like how wine is so feminine now.
Yeah.
So we really did that.
We really did that. We were really like somewhere past the Roman Empire. We were like, well, fuck you guys. And we did it anyways in public.
It's not all bad.
So now,
Cheers.
I
get
I will have been Tiana.
What would you like?
Oh, what would you like? We have so much wine.
I'm gonna take a splash more of the sparkling.
Yeah. So 3 wins, I guess. Yeah.
No.
Are the 3
It's water competition.
the 3 wines that you had today, and nobody will take it personally.
No, I really won't.
We will line them up
Gabby
in
will.
your rating
Oh,
of best.
I'm sorry. I'm an Ariana Ochipini stan. Also, this is just like my ideal of a wine.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So that's first.
Here's the thing. I live for a lighter bodied red,
Yeah.
but I like how interesting this one is.
Yeah.
You know, I think that the producer did a really good job, especially it being like, you know, a Canadian wine, doing something that is, you know, like fun and puppy and like I always find it cool to have a little bit of a savory side to a rosé.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a sucker for that because it just kind of proves that like this is a little bit more of a dynamic category. So to have a sparkling rosé that's like really fruity, but also a little bit savory and also a little bit like, oh, what's that? What's that going on there? So I think just for that reason, this is
second.
So win for me.
Yeah, I take the offense. I know.
yeah.
And that's your third.
You can take it out.
But
They're all very good bottles.
I would drink every one of them again.
Yeah,
For sure.
all right, ladies. That is the end.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was like such an honor to be invited on with you guys.
Our first guest.
It's an honor to work with you guys.
It's an honor to work with you. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's so nice. It's a better day when Alan's in the restaurant.
Yeah.
Better when you guys are in the restaurant.
Cheers. Thanks for being here.
Cheers.
Alrighty, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. And catch us.
Follow us.
And catch us in 2 weeks. And please follow
Alan on her wine Instagram. Say it again for everybody.
At 3 sheets to the vino and come drink.
And her personal Instagram because she also shares cool stuff. She lets you know what's going on.
Both will be linked in the bios below.
Yes.
And all of our social medias will be linked in the bios below. So come check us out in 2 weeks from now where we chat on our own about something that we haven't decided about yet. But we'll chat with you guys.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah. Cut producer.